Have you ever felt that God was not there? And sometimes God's not there in your thinking at the time when you need Him the most. That's what we're going to talk about today. Lord, where are you? Why are you hiding?
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hello there, friends. Welcome to today's episode. Psalm 10 today in our Bibles. And Psalm 10 does not have a title to it, and there's no indication that it's a Psalm of David. We assume it is because it's in a packet of Psalms, all of which were written by David. And some scholars even believe that Psalm 10 is simply an extension of Psalm 9. But whatever the case, the information in Psalm 10 is truly Davidic in the sense of the kinds of complaints that he had, the kind of conclusions to which he would come about the Lord. And I want you to just really think about this first opening question, because this is a question that people still have today about why apparently God is not doing anything about the evil that's around them. Why does it seem that evil is prospering and goodness is failing? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do good things happen to bad people? Might be another way to ask that. So look at Psalm 10 in verse number 1, where the Word of God says, "Why standest thou afar off, O Lord?" So in typical David fashion, the psalm begins with a prayer, with a question to God. And let me just say that it's not wrong to ask God questions. And it's not wrong to pour out our confusions and even our complaints to the Lord. He certainly has broad shoulders, and He is the one to whom we should go. Our questions ought to bring us to God. So in that sense, this is good. The question that David asks, or the psalmist here asks, is why? Why are you not dealing with this? Why are you standing off on the sidelines and not handling this situation? Verse number 1 again, "Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble?" Lord, it seems like I'm going through a really, really tough time right now, a time when I need you the most. It seems like the times that I need you the most, you're the least available. Now, I do find it a little bit ironic that David is asking these questions as he's talking to God. And the very fact that he's praying, the very fact that he's asking the question is indicative of the fact that God is accessible, that God is within earshot, that God does hear our prayers. But certainly it seems that there are times when God is a million miles away. And it seems as if God is dispassionate about what we're going through. And I think that's really the gist of what David is saying here. Lord, why? Why does it seem like you're not handling this? Why does it seem as if you're not here, especially at a time when I need you the very most? Verse number 2. "The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined." So this might give us added reason as to why David is asking these questions, because he's looking out his window and saying, Lord, it seems like the poor, these people that can't defend themselves, the implication too is these that are trying to do what's right, they are being manipulated by, they're being bullied by, taken advantage of by the greedy. Isn't that what it says? Or the wicked in his pride. And of course, we know that the Lord hates human pride. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, That's number one on the list. And yet the psalmist says here, but the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. And then David adds, let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. So, Lord, would you please judge them in the very way by which they're taking advantage of others? Now, we talked about this last episode, didn't we? We talked about the fact that many times God built in consequences to sin that serve as sin's judgment. So the one that lays that net out gets trapped in the very net that he lays out, or the one that digs that pit falls into the very pit that he digs. And that's what David is saying here. Lord, let these that have tried to connive, these that have tried to take advantage of the poor, let the devices that they're using to take advantage of others, let those devices turn back upon them. So I think that indicates that David knows the ways, some of the primary ways by which God does deal with the wicked. So Lord, do that now. Let that be a form of judgment now. He's calling for God's intervention. He's calling for God's participation. Verse number 3, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. So an added reason why David is so incensed by this is because these wicked people are full of themselves. They do what they do for greedy gain. They birds of a feather flock together, and they seem to be in cahoots with others that are taking advantage of. It's the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And here's a whole block of people that are taking advantage of a whole other block of people. And this is a societal problem. This is a caste problem. This is a socioeconomic problem. And David said, something's got to give. And so David is really coming to God on the behalf of what he sees happening in the lives of other people. Maybe that's you. Maybe there's a social justice side of you that sees people that are being taken advantage of by the wicked and nefarious whims of powerful people in our society, and that bothers you, and you want to come to their aid. There's nothing wrong with having a heart for the disenfranchised. There's nothing wrong with giving a voice to people that perhaps don't have a powerful voice themselves. And so I think all of this is noble, and David is taking all of this to the higher power. He's taking all of this to God, making this a matter of prayer. Verse number 4. The wicked, through a pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. So in verse 3, David demonstrated the wicked's attitude toward the poor. He takes advantage of them. The wicked's attitude toward the greedy, those are his people. He's in cahoots with them. But now in verse number 4, he talks about the wicked's attitude toward God. That's the real root of the issue, isn't it? Wickedness is not primarily what people do, but it's really their lack of a relationship with God. It starts in their heart and in their mind, and their actions are simply an indicator of that wickedness. Look at verse number 4 again. So the wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. So wicked people are those that don't have a goal to know God. They don't want to discover God. They're not in pursuit of God. They're not even thinking about God. God does not hold sway in their decision making. That would be a good way to say that. When they think about what they want to do with their lives, when they think about what they want to get, or the pleasures they want to enjoy, or the places they want to go, or the things they want to build, or the power they want to have, when they think about all of that, they never consider God. They never consider their accountability to God. They never think about what God would think about this. They never think about how God would respond to such a goal or activity. God is not even in their thinking process. How sad. So David, or the psalmist, brings that to God to say, God, these are people that aren't looking for you. They're not thinking about you. They are thinking only about themselves. They're boasting in their own desires. They're gathering together with people just like them. They're taking advantage of whole swaths of people in society. This is wrong. Can you sense the indignation that the psalmist has as he's looking at this societal decay and saying, Lord, why aren't you doing something? What's going on here? I think if you would be honest with yourself, you can look around even our society or the current world picture and see much of what David saw all these many years ago. Would you look at verse number 5, where it says, his ways are always, talking about the wicked, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. So the point here is that they're operating in pride. They're not thinking about the consequences, the spiritual consequences of their actions, the judgments of God. They're out of his sight altogether. And any enemy that he actually does have, he sneers at them. He puffs at them. He disesteems them. In other words, he sins with impunity. I have confidence, and I feel like I can do what I want to do, and nothing bad's going to happen to me. I'm in control. I'm the bully. I'm El Jefe. Wow, what an indication of the pride of the wicked. You can see why David is so worked up. You can see why he's looking out and saying, this is just not right. It's like watching bullies on a playground and taking advantage of, stealing that kid's lunch money, and just how wrong that is. And there's that innate sense of righteousness to say, this must end. And that's what David, or the psalmist, is saying here. Let's finish in verses 6 and 7. He hath said in his heart, David now speaking about the motivations of the wicked, he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved. Nothing's ever going to happen to me. For I shall never be in adversity. Hey, I can do what I want to do, and it's always going to work out. This works for me. This kind of lifestyle, this kind of attitude, this kind of greed, this kind of bullying, it's always going to be the way that I operate because it's always going to bring the best to me. I will never be moved away from this position. Verse number 7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So on the outside, on the inside, in the way he thinks, and the way he deals with other people, in the way that he takes advantage of, he is through and through a wicked person. Not thinking about God, not seeking God, doesn't care what God says, doesn't care about people. All he cares about is himself. Lord, why aren't you doing anything about this? And maybe that person's in your life. Maybe you look out your window and you see that in your society. And maybe your question is the same as the question of the psalmist. Lord, what are you doing? Why are you hiding? Well, we're going to find out the answer tomorrow. So sorry about that. I'll leave you hanging there for a day, but do appreciate your faithfulness to listening to the podcast, and we'll see you next time. God bless you, my friends.